From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
It really is a matter of life or death. Why an Arizona mayor is ready to sue over razor wire.
Plus, President Donald Trump called for a ban on late-term abortions during his State of the Union address. We talked to pro-life and pro-choice advocates to see what this decision in the nation's capital could mean for us.
Turn the car off right now!
And how a $5 million investment in body cams could impact the police and the community at large.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Bobby Kraus.
And I'm Taylor Rocha. Thank you for joining us.
Tensions are building between local officials in Nogales and federal authorities over the additional concertina wire that's been installed along the stretch of the existing border fence between Nogales, Arizona and Nogales, Mexico.
After a public outcry, the City Council put an emergency resolution on their agenda last night, demanding Customs and Border Control take the newly installed wiring down. Cronkite News reporter Molly Bowes was there and tells us what happened.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. It passed.
In a unanimous vote, the Nogales City Council approved a resolution Wednesday night condemning the new border wire, demanding it be taken down.
Concertina wiring is no different than the 35 days of a shutdown. It's just to make a point at our expense.
The resolution also asks the federal government to remove all of the concertina wire installed within Nogales city limits and not to use military force or military-style tactics in the city.
I moved down from Phoenix 9.5 years ago. I don't have to lock my doors. I live in one of the safest cities in the state. I don't feel safer with the fence.
In response to the city's demands, Customs and Border Patrol released a statement saying in part, quote, "As the situation along the border is always evolving, CBP is constantly evaluating operational needs. Currently, there are no plans to remove the concertina wire," end quote. Army troops started installing 2 rows of the coiled concertina wire on the top of the border fence late last year. Last weekend, they added as many as 4 additional coils covering the barrier from top to bottom.
That allows Department of Defense.
That's when residents raised the alarm, saying the wiring is dangerous and potentially lethal.
They're turning our town into a military base. Okay, it's like the front lines of some kind of war zone.
CBP's refusal to remove the wire is not sitting well with Nogales city officials and residents who say it's also impacting Nogales' livelihood.
It already is having such a negative impact on our visitors here, which we are made of. Our town thrives with those visitors from out of town.
Just like the mesh that was put up about a year and a half ago, it's about more division.
In Nogales, Arizona, Molly Bowes, Cronkite News.
As of now, the Pentagon is planning to deploy 3,750 additional soldiers to the southwest border, in addition to putting up 150 more miles of concertina wire. After last night's vote, Nogales Mayor Arturo Guarino says the city might look into the possibility of taking legal action if the wire is not removed.
Increased border security was a highlight of President Donald Trump's State of the Union address Tuesday. Less noticed was his call for a ban on late-term abortions, a proposal that has pro-life advocates excited. Cronkite News reporter Alyssa Klink has more on this story from our Washington bureau.
Arizona is already one of the most pro-life states in the country, but pro-life advocate like Kathy Herod still thinks there's room for stricter laws, just like the ones that President Trump called for in his State of the Union address this week.
I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb.
Trump gave no details about his proposal, but a late-term or pain-capable abortion ban would likely mean a ban after 20 weeks. That's the law now in Arizona, but Herod worries it won't always be.
My analysis of the Arizona Senate and the Arizona House today is that it is evenly divided. on pro-life versus pro-abortion, and perhaps may even be slightly tilting pro-abortion.
The way she sees it, Arizona could soon be tilting toward pro-choice states like New York.
The Arizona state legislature is very closely divided on the issue of abortion for this year and next year.
But Taylor Tucker at Planned Parenthood Advocates of Arizona says it will be a long time before the state is anywhere near pro-choice.
We unfortunately are named one of the most pro-life states in the United States because we have quite a few abortion restrictions on the books.
Those include required counseling and an ultrasound for a woman seeking an abortion in Arizona. Among other restrictions, minors must get parental consent. Tucker thinks Trump's proposal has little chance in a Democrat-controlled House.
I think that there isn't a lot of movement that can happen in the legislature at our current moment, with the House being held majority Democrat and majority of those being pro-choice Democrats.
That does not faze Jennifer Popick of National Right to Life.
I think we were really encouraged to see the president raise the profile of this issue in one of the most public speeches of the year that a president makes.
Herod and Tucker agree on one thing. Little change is likely in Arizona in the next few years, but Tucker says the fight's not going away.
Abortion is either going to be safe or it's not going to be safe. It's going to be legal or it's not going to be legal. It's still going to happen.
Recent attempts to ban late-term and pain-capable abortions have passed through the House, but none ever got through the Senate and made it here to the White House for the president's signature. In Washington, Alyssa Clank, Cronkite News.
The president's State of the Union address also called for fixing what he called the lawless state of our southern border. He asked for more troops, new drug detection technology, and of course, his border wall. But critics today say the government needs to fix its own handling of immigrants, particularly immigrant families, as Lev Junius reports from our Washington bureau.
Last time Jefferson RP saw his father was in late 2017. That's when Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers arrested his dad for being in the country illegally.
Got to the point where I'm tired of just being without him. My dad is not a criminal. He is here to give me a better future. If he goes, my future goes.
RP was speaking at a rally outside the Capitol, where dozens protested everything from ICE to the new policy that asylum seekers can be sent back to Mexico while they wait for a hearing. Perez Bastillo calls that a very dangerous development.
It means essentially that there's a kind of collusion, complicity between the U.S. government and the Mexican government that threatens to deny the right to seek asylum, which is one of the most fundamental rights in international law and in international human rights.
Much of the anger at the rally was directed at the policy of separating families at the border. Under a court settlement, however, young children have to be reunited with their parents after several weeks. President Donald Trump calls that a loophole in immigration law. But Matthew Sussis of the Center of Immigration Studies says the government doesn't have many options.
Release the entire family into the interior of the country and hope they'll show up to court, and all likelihood they won't. Or you detain the parent who crossed illegally, but release the child to a relative or a guardian in the country.
The so-called Flores settlement does not apply to older children like RP, which is why he is working with lawmakers to bring his father home.
And I'm so thankful for the support of representatives that we have in the government that is going to help all of us, all of our immigrants.
In Washington, Lev Junius, Cronkite News.
Phoenix police are getting 2,000 new body cameras. The Phoenix City Council voted yesterday to approve a contract that will also create 21 jobs to support the body camera program. The deal will allow body cam footage like the one shown here to help ensure accountability between police and the community. But the deal comes at a price, $16.7 million to be exact. Some hope the body cam footage will provide answers to why Phoenix has a growing number of officer-involved shootings. In 2017, there were 21 officer-involved shootings just here in Phoenix. In 2018, that number more than doubled. So we want to hear from you now. Would you feel safer knowing police officers were suited with body cameras? Right now, the majority say yes, completely. Head over to our Twitter page and join the conversation.
The Arizona State Senate's Commerce and Public Safety Committee was set to discuss Arizona possibly becoming the 9th state in the U.S. to legalize sports gambling, but the discussion was postponed. The bill would allow sports gambling in 2 places in Arizona, one on native land and in certain types of liquor serving establishments around the state. All would be administered by Native American tribes with existing tribal state gaming compacts. Senator Sonny Borelli introduced the bill and says that revenue gained from tourists can stay in Arizona.
Especially during the big sporting events, Super Bowl, and you got the World Series. A lot of people flock to Las Vegas. They flock to Nevada to be able to go and lay a bet. Guess what? We can keep that money here in Arizona. So I'm hoping those tourist dollars actually stay here.
Sports betting on your cell phone is not included in the bill because Borelli said the technology has not been fully developed.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, Tempe's wastewater is being analyzed for drugs.
Find out how this process is helping the city combat the opioid epidemic and track the areas most affected by addiction.
Plus, U.S. News and World Report recently released their rankings for their best online bachelor's degree program. Find out if Arizona made the list.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
The Tempe Fire Department says the city's average age for opioid abuse and overdoses is younger than national trends. Now, an Arizona State University research program is fighting the opioid epidemic by examining Tempe's wastewater. Cronkite News reporter Bayan Wang is live in the broadcast center now. Bayan, what are they finding in the wastewater?
Well, let's just say this. If you used a bathroom in Tempe, whatever you flushed down the toilet may have ended up in a testing tube at an ASU laboratory. Take a look.
The sewage doesn't lie.
If you used the toilet in Tempe within the last 6 months, there's a chance your waste was tested for drugs.
We've seen heroin, we've seen fentanyl, oxycodone, codeine, morphine.
And that's just a few of the drugs ASU researchers found while testing 3 geographic areas of Tempe.
We are analyzing wastewater, so we're looking for markers of behavior and health in wastewater. It's very similar to a medical process where the doctor analyzes urine or stool, but he does it for an individual. We feel we are the physicians of the city.
As the water travels from the 3 targeted areas in Tempe, it passes through underground pipes and eventually ends up in a larger channel where researchers set up their test. And while the research can pinpoint opioid traces in wastewater, it can also serve public safety and health officials in another way. The city's website shows that in 2017, nearly 700 emergency calls were for suspected opioid abuse and overdoses.
Our trend is slightly different because we have a younger age population that's higher. Typically, the age 34 to 50 is higher on the national trend. Ours is 18 to 30. You know, to be honest, it could be because we have the university, but we see it all over the place.
Together, the city, the fire department, and researchers are working towards ending all overdose-related deaths by the year 2025, according to the city's website.
Imagine if we, through the analysis of wastewater, could tell the city officials that a dangerous drug has suddenly arrived in the city. There's a drug called carfentanil. It's an elephant tranquilizer. It's 1,000 times more potent than morphine. You know, if this drug is being spotted here, that's important information to have, and that can help us to prevent, by informing the emergency responders, to prevent deadly overdoses.
Within the next 6 months, researchers are working towards testing the entire city of Tempe. They told me all tests are sampled anonymously and that they hope other researchers replicate these studies throughout other parts of the nation. In Phoenix, Bayan Wang, Cronkite News.
The future of the University of Arizona men's basketball program was on the Arizona Board of Regents' agenda today. Reporter Anthony Totri was in Tempe trying to find answers to some of the program's glaring questions.
In a statement following an executive session this morning, the Arizona Board of Regents offered its support for the school's Wednesday decision to initiate the process to terminate assistant men's basketball coach Mark Phelps. The school said it is unrelated to the ongoing NCAA investigation and federal criminal case that came to light over a year and a half ago.
While the Board of Regents was in the midst of its executive session discussing Coach Phelps today, right down the hall was Arizona President Robbie Robbins. Robbins has a lot on his mind with the Wildcats basketball program among the schools at the center of that criminal proceeding. Former Arizona assistant coach Emmanuel Book Richardson pled guilty last month in the corruption case brought by the Southern District of New York. Richardson and Phelps joined former Wildcat assistant Joe Pasternak in being accused of NCAA violations, putting a lot of pressure back on head coach Sean Miller.
Now, both Robbins and A Board Chair Ron Shootman declined our request for an on-camera interview. The Wildcats play the Washington Huskies tonight at home. In the media center, Anthony Totri, Cronkite News.
U.S. News & World recently reported that Arizona State University was nationally ranked as the second best online bachelor's program. In total, the report evaluated 1,545 online programs. According to the media relations at ASU Online, over the past calendar year, more than 50,000 students were enrolled into a fully online undergraduate or graduate degree through the university. Madeline Holler sat down with a few among the ASU Online community who required flexibility in a degree.
For many students who juggle parenthood, career, and life, school can seem hard to fit into the mix. Kirsten Esquivel, who lives in Washington, understands this as a military spouse.
Feeling kind of as though I was without the ability to finish a degree, or at least having to put it off until my husband was done with his career. And also having a young child, it just made it seem really far out of reach.
Esquivel studied family and human development through the online degree program, which she was able to do no matter where her husband was stationed. Professor Ariel Anbar, who teaches an online course, says flexibility is a common draw when it comes to pursuing education outside of the traditional classroom setting.
I would say that's true about any course, whether it's online or face-to-face. At the end of the day, at the college level, you get out of it what you put into it.
For some students, a degree is more than a piece of paper.
When the opportunity presented itself and ASU had the program, I wanted to fulfill my childhood dream. It's not a goal, it's a dream to have my degree.
Cherie Shockley is studying mass communication and media studies. She works full-time and is raising a family. ASU says its online undergraduate degree programs have resulted in an 86% retention rate. Professor Anbar suggests that online courses, despite misconceptions, are more personal.
Whereas when you're teaching online, what's kind of interesting is that students will communicate with you by email or through discussion boards in ways that they might never talk to you in person.
After the break, illegal tours are popping up on social media sites, and they're targeting a popular Arizona tourist destination.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
Leading hikers without a permit is illegal, and the U.S. Forest Service says Sedona is especially susceptible to these types of tours. Unpermitted guides go off-trail, damage fragile ecosystems, and disrupt archaeological sites. Sammy Giebers traveled up to the Coconino National Forest to find out more about the impact these groups have on the land.
You guys gonna do a Jeep ride today?
Already did it.
Got some fun coupons.
If you're walking around uptown Sedona, it's not going to take you long to find a tour company. You can also look on Facebook, but the ones there aren't always permitted.
They may not even know that what they're doing is illegal.
It's a problem throughout the U.S. Forest Service, but especially in Sedona, where there's an influx of tourists and miles of wilderness. Unpermitted guides are leading tours of people through the area.
Sedona is completely surrounded by the Coconino National Forest. And that makes it relatively easier to get a group together, go to a trailhead parking lot, and boom, you're right on the National Forest.
Goshorn says that they're seeing more and more Facebook posts from people not on their permit list. One reason, it can take years before you finally lead a group of people through Sedona legally.
It's been a long process. I mean, if I go back, it would be some 12 or so years ago that we really started.
The Forest Service doesn't just let anyone have a permit.
With all of our guides, we have some very strict requirements.
Making sure equipment is safe, guides are medically certified and properly trained are just some of the requirements.
Courthouse, Bell Rock.
Permitted businesses also pay fees that support the Forest Service. Unpermitted guides don't do that.
We've been given the stewardship of this area, and so to inform people, the right way, leave no trace and leave no impact. This is cool.
Craig Crawford and his business partner Kwahua take extra precaution to make sure they're preserving the land.
Like this area right here is a little off trail, so you kind of want to, find the main trail. We're the facilitators for people that want to, experience the area and in a safe way. That's always been our goal, is to make sure people can explore, with safety and certainty that they're going to come back.
In Sedona, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
The Forest Service says if you do find yourself in an unpermitted tour without knowing it, you won't get fined. But beware, your guide might not have the proper training if there's an emergency. The best thing you can do is just ask to see their permit. Another tourist attraction getting some attention, the Grand Canyon.
If the Grand Canyon extended the tourist season at the North Rim by just 4 weeks, it could boost its economy by $14 million. That's according to a new study that says a longer tourist season would bring nearly 38,000 visitors to the area and would support almost 200 jobs. However, the study does not factor in the cost to the national park or maintenance to the highway that leads to the North Rim. Advocates for a longer tourist season have been pushing for an extra 2 weeks in both October and May. Currently, the North Rim is fully open less than half the year.
Right now, the high country is experiencing dangerous wintry weather conditions as icy roads are posing problems for drivers.
Jody joins us to track the weather across the state.
It's about 57 degrees right now. It's pretty sunny. We're looking at some clouds later in the week, but there's a little bit of wind right now. The wind doesn't look like it's too much right now, but it is just enough to give you some chills when you do head outside. So looking at the rest of the state, in the Grand Canyon, you're looking at 31 degrees right now. The rest of the rim in the 30s and 40s, Sedona at 41. The valley right now is in the mid 50s, and then all the way over here in Yuma, we're at 62 right now with the highest temperature. Looking at the rest of the evening, at 6 p.m. it's 54 degrees right now, and then at 9 o'clock we're going to get down to 48 degrees, and then at 10 it's just going to continue to decline. For the 7-day forecast, it looks like on Friday it's going to be pretty sunny. Saturday brings in the clouds. You're looking at mostly 60s here, but then once you get to Wednesday, you're going to see us hit that 70-degree weather. Thursday, it has some possible showers, but other than that, it should be pretty good. I'm Jody Guerrero with Cronkite News.
Coming up next on Cronkite News.
The Phoenix Public Library is growing, literally. Besides books, you'll never believe what you can check out to improve your own house.
I was impressed how expansive the children's educational program is. I had no idea. Teachers go over the entire state reading books to children in both Spanish and English if they don't understand, so that the parents can teach their children what the value of reading a book is. I had no idea that you did that. That in and of itself is spectacular.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
You may think libraries are just for checking out books, but for several years now, you can check out packets of seeds at the Public Phoenix Library. As Cronkite News reporter Peter Gong explains, the program is blossoming.
Anyone with a Phoenix Library card can check out packets of seeds to plant in their garden.
Through the program, with your Phoenix Public Library card, you can check out up to 3 packets of seeds a week through the program. And in 2018, we distributed 16,000 packets of seeds.
The program has grown steadily since it began in 2014. Geraldine Hills directs community engagement at the Phoenix Public Library. Adrian Vega discovered the Seed Library program by accident.
It was a coincidence because my kids really like the reading material here, so I come here constantly. And once one of my kids came here and said, "Look, Mom, there are seeds," and my dad likes stuff like seeds and trees.
Vega is one of thousands of library patrons who checks out seeds on a regular basis. She says chili seeds are her favorite to plant. Hill says the seed program is now in the majority of the library branches.
Our customers, no matter what their living situation is at home, we have gardening programs and things where you could plant a garden in your backyard, you can grow things on pots on a patio or a balcony, or you can even lease space at a community garden and garden in that setting as well. So it really is available to just about everybody within the city.
Hill says the seed program is now in the majority of the library branches. The Phoenix Public Library also has an outdoor garden at the Harmon Phoenix Library branch in downtown. Library patrons can reserve a plot to plant their own seeds. In Phoenix, Peter Gahn, Cronkite News.
The Phoenix Public Library hopes to expand the program to all 17 library branches.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.